Well, hello everyone. Today I'm going to show you how I make a Model 1800 antler handle knife and sheath. Now we called it the 1800s because we try to make them look like they were made in the 1800s, give them a rustic look and that sort of thing. And this is what they look like, and in today's video I'll show you how I make them. Now, my family didn't hunt, but we lived on a farm, and I was always intrigued by antlers. And we had a lot of sheds because we'd pick them up so they wouldn't go through the farm implement tires. And so I decided at a young age to make my fortune making these pocket knives. They were a lot of work, and I didn't make much money, but they were a lot of fun, and this is all I have left of when I used to make them. And they only sell for about $30 anyway. But if you want to make your own antlered hunting knife, if you've got an antler hanging around, and you can buy blanks online, and you can get all sorts of shapes and sizes, so just buy one, and all you have to do with your antler is just drill it out so it'll take the blank. And in this case, I'll just show you, I'm just drilling this one out because I'm making a pen knife. But you can see you just drill it out. It's really, really easy. There, the blade, make sure the blade fits in there nice. And then I use JB Weld. It's just the best. It never fails me. It lasts forever, and it's very easy to work with because you can clean up the edges really good with sandpaper, and then it ends up looking like that. Now, this is the knife I'm going to show you that we're making today. Now, the handle is pretty white. It's a shed antler, and I'm going to finish it with, I think I'm going to use mahogany and varathane. Now, a lot of them I won't put anything on. I'll just treat them with vegetable oil. But you can also, if you're going to wash them, it's probably not a bad idea to put varnish on them and that sort of thing, because it just keeps the antler fresher. Now, coconut oil is food safe, and it does look good too. But this is what I use. It works really good. You can use your choice. This is what I use for coloring, and it's good. I've got different colors that you can just take a paintbrush or a rag and wipe it on to get the desired effect. And you can see the different finishes that I use. Now, that one there is natural. The others there's natural, but these others are kind of different treatments on them, but varnished. Now, we're going to take a piece of leather. This is buffalo hide, and you're going to cut a strip off the one edge and cut it really, really long. Cut it between 3/8 to half an inch wide, so when you're done, you got something like that looks like this. And cut the ends so they're pretty sharp, because you're going to have to thread it through a hole, as you'll see later in the video. And I take a plastic jug. Now, we got a lot of these, and all I do is I take the knife that I just made, and I'll cut the top and the bottom off. And then I've got a nice piece of plastic to work with that I'm going to build the sheath out of. Okay, so now you see I cut the bottom and the top out, and I've got a strip of plastic. Now, I'll take that plastic and I'll bend it over the blade, and I'll draw an outline of what the sheath is going to look like. Now, that's what it looks like when it's cut out. And I'll also cut a strip, because you want plastic on both sides of the knife blade in your sheath. So, and I glue everything with Gorilla Glue. I'm just a real fan of it. It just seems to last forever, and it's easy to work with. And it dries really hard and fast. So anyway, so there's the insert, and then I'll put a blade stop on the one side, again just made out of a piece of that plastic, and I'll glue it on the edge of the one insert. Okay, you can see how it looks, and that's to stop the blade from going any further. They usually don't hit that, but it's nice to have it there, and then it looks like that when it's all glued together. And that's going to fit on the other side of that sheath, which I'll show you here in a second. Now it's glued, and you just turn it over and you put it on the inside. Now, the other thing I do is I'll take a scrap piece of leather and I'll glue it on the top of that plastic that I just made for the sheath. And the reason why is it's going to cover that edge. It'll look nice when you put your blade in, but it also makes a backing for your belt loop so that it looks nice on the other side, so you don't just see a hunk of plastic. And that's just a piece of scrap leather that you just glue it on. And I use clothespins to hold it on. It works really easy. and fast and let it set up. And so now you got your sheath that looks like that. That leather's glued on. And now you can see the insert I put in there. Now that insert is going to ride on the far edge of the blade when it goes in there. So now that's what you got. You're making part of the sheath. And again, you're going to glue it in there and use your clothespins and let it set. And I'll just keep going here. It's not hard to build. Now this is again just made out of that plastic jug. And you can see the insert there, how it goes. So now you've got plastic on both sides edges of your knife blade. And it's starting to take shape now. And then you're going to glue these edges. And use a fair amount of glue because it's going to have to last forever. And then when it's all together, you just put your clothespins on and let that glue set up. Now you'll notice that I've already finished the handle on this knife. And I did use the mahogany and the Verazane varnish because I do like that look when I'm doing these 1800 series because they look really good. And I've got a few other projects on the go. Now you need a special board. I've had this board forever. And I just lay it on a stump like that because you're going to be pounding nails in here. And I'll show you how that works. It's really, really easy. You're going to lay your leather on there. And then you're going to put your sheath on the edge of that leather. So you don't want to waste much leather. Now you can use the flesh side or the hide side or the shiny side, whatever you want to call it. And now you see where that leather was glued on the sheath. You're going to position that wherever you want that your sheath to look like. Now I'm going to take it along, and then what I'll do is I'll draw lines because now this is going to be your belt loop, and I use ordinary spikes. And it works really good because it just makes the hole nice and clean. I like it better than a hole punch because it also holds everything together. Now you'll nail this with a special hammer, as you can see, and you'll nail it on each edge of your belt loop so that when you cut those edges, it can't carry forward because the hole is round, and it'll last like that forever. And so that's what it ends up look like. And this is your belt loop. You can see where you're going to put your belt through. Okay, and it's easy. Now we're going to use the hide side up because it looks kind of cooler for these older 1800 series. And you're going to position that sheath so that leather that you sewed on there is going to be the backing for that belt loop. So when you look at the belt loop, you're going to see leather instead of plastic. Okay, and then you're going to take a nail, and this is your starting nail now, and you're going to drive it through the one edge of the leather and also through the other leather and through the plastic, through your plastic sheet. So everything's going to be held together. Okay, and that's your starting point. Now you can see where your belt loop is, and I haven't wasted any leather. And now you just keep nailing along, nail about a ½ inch gap between each nail, and you're going to follow the outline of that sheath until you've got all those nails driven in the wood. It'll keep solid, it'll nice, easy to take shape. And now you're done with that special board. It can go back in its spot until your next project. But it's just an ordinary 2x6. I've had it forever. But it works really good because you can just nail those nails in there. And so now you've got something that looks like this. The nails are in. You can see that more or less the sheath is taking shape. And now you got to take your knife that you just made, and you're going to cut along those nails to make the actual sheath the way it's going to look. Now you want to leave a fair good distance there. If you cut too close, you'll go through the nail hole. So make sure you leave yourself about at least again 3/8 to ½ inch, and you're going to finish it out. And you can do a lot of different things. You can get creative. This is just an ordinary sheath. Now you got something that looks like this. All the nails are keeping it in shape, and you can see what it looks like. Now I don't use any glue after this. It's all, the leather strap will keep it all in place, and it can't go anywhere. You're going to tie knots on either end, and it just adds to the looks of it. So now you got your strap that you cut out at the beginning of the video, and you're going to use your starting nail, and you're going to thread that through by the sheath. Now you can put your hammer back along with all the other special tools I have, and you're going to thread that. Now again, you may need pliers to pull them nails out, but there, now you can see I put the leather strap through, and I'm putting it with the shiny side down because I want the hide side up to make it for aesthetics looks. And I just tie a simple knot, and I leave the edge a little long just for aesthetics. And then I go through the next hole, pull the next spike out, okay, again with the shiny side up so that the flesh side's out, and it looks something like this. And I've just tied an ordinary granny knot. Okay, and there you go. And now I've got the second hole cut through, and I'm going to make sure that that shiny side is up, so I'll stretch it right through and make sure when I'm threading it through there that the shiny side is up. Now there's a pretty good example of what it's going to look like. You can see the shiny side is down and the flesh side is up. And you just carry on, and you can get threading needles at some of these leather shops. I don't normally use them, but they are handy. I wanted to show you this because it makes it a lot faster. But if you've got that leather sharpened up pretty good, it usually finds the holes pretty easy. But there you go. That's what this looks like. And you just thread that through, and it helps you pull it in through the hole. And the same thing when I get to the end of the sheath, I'll just double or triple loop it. Some of them I'll tie just a granny knot, you know, because remember, this is 1800 stuff. You want it to kind of look rustic and old. And you can see what it looks like. Now, I was telling you about having that leather on the back of the sheath. You see how nice that looks? It's finished, and it looks nice, and you're not just seeing a hunk of plastic. And same thing when you look inside, you see that leather around the plastic, and it looks kind of cool. So now it's pretty well done. And there it is. You put your belt loop in, and you can choose either side, okay, if you want, whatever side. Now I'm left-handed, so this is a left-hand sheath, and this is going to be, I'm using this for me because I want to use this knife for some of the stuff I'm going to be doing. But anyway, that's what it looks like. And so that's the left hand. Otherwise you'd have the belt loop on the other side and that sort of thing. So you can make left or right hands, whatever you want. But you got something that looks pretty cool. Now you can have a lot of fun with this 1800 series stuff, because when the natives did, they put the tassels on and they look pretty cool. And there's your belt loop there. And I find the 1800 series really sell good. Now, I've got a cowboy sewing machine, and this thing is a real machine. But you can get fancy, and you can sew your own belt loops on there and that sort of thing. But I find these don't sell that good. Now, these things fetch a pretty good coin. Again, they have to be sheds, but they sell good because there's just nothing like that around. Now, you can use the live edge for your sheath, too. Now, this is my filleting knives that I take with me, and I use this lots because I've usually got my hunting knife on the other side and my filleting knife on my right side. And you can see, and also I wear my holster on my left side when I don't carry my gun, by the way. Anyway, and there you can see, now these are finished just with coconut oil because I just like the coconut oil, the natural look sometimes, but the varnish look is easier to sell. Now, if you've got some really, really cool sheds, you can have some fun with this, because look at this shed that I've got here now. It's got some really cool points on it, and you can really grip it nice. And again, I make a lot of my own blades, but you can buy them online. They're cheap, and they look good. And actually, some of them are amazing steel. You may have to pay a little more, but you can see the tassels you can put on them. That's what they looked like back in those days. And there's just something it just adds a different look to it than something that's really fine. But you can just buy an ordinary knife and put your own handle on it if you happen to have one. And the same thing, you take the plastic handle off and you drill your antler out and epoxy it in, and you can have some pretty fun with that. But you can see all the different ones that I do. Now, I also use rust promoter, and sometimes I'll put it on the blade and make the blade look rusty, and actually sells pretty good. Now, my pen knife is done. You can see how the epoxy held. Now, that's just JB weld and good, and that little pen knife when it's finished is going to be cool. Now, again, you can't sell antlers unless they're sheds. So you have to make sure that they're shed antlers if you're planning to sell them, because you have to prove it's a shed. Now you can get creative and have some other knives. Now these are all my personal knives I use. I just like knives. But you can see how you make them, and it's really good. Now you can also make your holster, okay, for your 357 mag, which I don't carry, by the way, because right now in Canada our government's set up so you can't carry handguns, which really sucks. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.